True crime material site, world of YouTube, here with another missing person. Subscriber has been giving me some stories out there in the grand old great state of Washington State. And another case I've checked out, very bizarre. And just for the mere fact that cops missing woman died of overdose. Body was buried but never found. What TF is this kind of headline? And what kind of, once again, whacked out investigation? Now, just to go over this girl, and like I always say, picture says 1,000 words. And I can read faces and people as I see them for some reason. And I can tell you right now, if this was the case and this girl just happened to get started on drugs, well then okay, that's worthy enough to say. But I can tell you just by looking at this girl in her face that no way in hell was this an overdose. Only, like I say, if she just started and, did too much or got a bad batch, as they so call it. I know there was a relative of my wife's, her cousin, and one of his cousins from another side of a family literally OD'd. This is all over the news, and I do think they know who did it, but no arrest. But fortunately, this girl's body was found. And what had happened was they brought the body not to the hospital, but a road that leads in that the ambulances travel all the time in Leominster to get to the emergency room. Although Leominster Hospital has changed and there's a different routing in there because they did work and a makeover, but where the ambulance used to go, there was a side road. It's pretty much like a residential road. If you don't live on it, a lot of people don't just go on it. Unless it's access to the ambulance. I mean, you can go through it and everything but it's so out in the, it's not out of town or nothing like to say so, but if everybody knows Leominster Hospital, you know that it just ain't like a public way. It is public, but it don't get used much, only by workers and ambulances. And her body was dumped on the side of the road. Just dumped there. Or the ambulance would drive by and pick her up. So, I mean, hey, them people had almost the right intention, but didn't properly do it, and it's just sick what goes on when an overdose does happen. Because you know damn well that, we're not going to call no ambulance or police or a fire truck because they're scared they're going to get busted with all their drugs. You know what? If you're that in fear of your lives, don't do drugs. And if you don't know what you're doing with drugs, don't do drugs. I was fortunate enough people wouldn't give me drugs because the way I acted, the way I was, and alcohol was enough for me, for everybody to look at me and say, oh my God, this guy is crazy. But, shit happens. I've straightened up now. I will occasionally sip some booze, but I'm not like I was years ago. I was bad, man. And then you know what, like I always say, I don't even know how I'm still living. Believe me, there was many attempts, but I couldn't do it. But anyways, as I can say, this girl, just very bizarre case. And, and for what they say in the title here, body never found, but body buried. And like I say, she does not look like your typical drug user. So there's only two things that I can come up with. Two thoughts, a couple thoughts, theories, ideas of what happened to this poor tragedy. Because I'll tell you, there ain't much to go on in this case. Was reported missing May 5th, 2010. They worked on the case for years, but recently transferred it to, receiving new information. Transferred it. After receiving new information that Croft likely died in an RV park, Cowlitz County, shortly after she was reported missing. Rosenwing, excuse me on that, says detectives have identified the people they believe buried her body in Oregon. He says the office isn't seeking charges against anyone at this time. Which, Jesus effing Christ, are you serious? If you know the people, there needs to be a new law, and I've been thinking about this for a long time. Because if you go on a case that I'm going to be doing a video on, a piece of shit is trying to get a new case done. Murdered a child. And, him and the mother. And the mother's out, mind you, out. But there should be a new law that if a child, it doesn't matter what age you are, from being an infant all the way up to an elderly person, if you die with suspiciousness circumstances, then that last person that was known to be around that person should be charged. I'm sorry. That's it. Bottom line. But I'm going to pause a moment. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Sorry I had to pause a moment. I had to go beat Carter Allen and get a tie today in the classic rock clash. But I had to shut this video off to do it. Stinks. But anyways, back to where we left off of people being charged because they were the last one with that dead, deceased person. And if these people did say they buried her and not getting charged, oh man, what is this world coming to? I think that's it in this article. And this was updated, I believe, 2015. And she was missing 2010, 5 years later. And like I said, I've been going on, I just got on this case, and I did read another article. And the father refused to search for his daughter because he heard about another father losing a child and the body was found and supposedly, I don't know, something like he had a nervous breakdown or something. So he didn't want to search to find his daughter, but he was there to support the search team. But I don't know. If I had a kid missing, and I did, for a week, even though it wasn't as long as a lot of these kids go missing before they're found, or no matter, I'd probably be out there searching day and night or until I collapse and fall on my face. And I was fortunate enough to, you know, get my son back from the dilemma I had to go through. Some people just don't have it in them, but I don't know. That's just insane. That is this thing on? Wait a minute. Is this thing on? Yes. But anyways, I'm not trying to bash nobody. And the police, I don't know, man. This case is bizarre, very bizarre. And what I think could have happened is one, she could have gotten mixed up in the wrong crowd, went to someone's trailer park, to visit. I believe, yeah, she was 19, right? I think, yeah, 18-year-old at the time, 18. So once again, we're going with kids of these days, modern time days, millennium babies. You might as well call them. Not having the proper skills in life, especially when you need survivor skills. I mean, don't get me wrong, not everybody has an instinct in them. I mean, we do have an instinct, but not a lot of people know how to find that instinct. Let me rephrase that. And, when you got kind people, though, they really ain't going to find their instinct. And this girl looks like, she could be, a little defiant, but, just, the picture I'm looking at right now, she reminds me of a humble person, humble. And that's all I can describe. And when vulnerable people, humble people, don't have that instinct like a killer, of course things are going to go wrong. But, man, for this to be said that the body was never found but buried, oh my God. I'm just in disbelief of this. What really is going on out there where these people aren't getting charged? I mean, who buried her? Why bury her? That's the thing. Yeah, people get scared because they don't want to get charged with nothing. But damn, people, if you ain't going to at least let someone know or put them somewhere where they could be found, who gives you the right to bury someone? Anybody at that matter. And there's been cases like that in the past where I've read about, and yeah, that damn right, well, they just went and buried them. They died. The old woman died, buried her. It's sick. And for this to be said, and even if this is even true, but when I read the first article about a search, and I believe that was in 2019, I think it was the latest. And yeah, they all gathered up. I said what the father said. And it's like, what the? But they never found nothing. So, I mean, she could be in another part of the state, out of state. And right, and no one gets charged. No one's looked at. I just don't get that, man, because this is just insane to even read this. But, I'll take a screenshot, need that for the thumbnail. And for them to say who's the officers to assume she died of a drug overdose? How would anybody know this? I mean, a couple of things, like I said, either she went to a place where she knew the people. In one theory, I think, let me get to the theories now. Yeah, she went to the wrong place. And whoever was, if she did overdose, if, thoughts, theories, ideas, folks, not facts. But if she did overdose, then I think that she went to a place, she knew the people, and the main donor of drugs, maybe made a pass at her, and she looks like the type that would say, no, please, no, I'm all set with that. Excuse me, I got to sneeze. Goddamn sneeze attack. And right, infuriated the person and just killed her. Or maybe there was a group of men there. You know, sometimes drugs lead you to do some very dumb, sick shit. And that couldn't infuriate, because this don't look like a girl of a nature to me. To say, hey, baby, come on, let's go, let's do this. So whatever they did, whatever she did, said, no, please, no, this infuriated a person. And that's that. You don't turn down if it's an overdose. You know what? I can honestly say I've heard horror stories that, girls want to get drugs, but they don't want to do that nature stuff, that sick stuff. Yeah. And they end up dead. Or she witnessed something. Or, who knows, just could have said, I'm going to turn you in. Something stupid. And what better way to declare someone dead than an overdose? But not to turn it into the proper authorities, not to turn it into an ambulance, not to get that body properly, is just sick and demented its own self. And the police, to let that happen, just buried. She'll be all right. These people, they just said something and blah, blah, blah. Jesus Christ. It's funny how stuff like this happens and, you're left with a slap in your face. What the fuck? But anything, what else? But to say, I don't know, to anything else happening, what else would there be? Besides turning down some horny old drug dealer. And yeah, just infuriating them. Or a pack of them. Or maybe a drug dealer had a obsessed user, or maybe girlfriend, and maybe she spiked the drugs with something because this girl comes along on their territory. You can think of a lot of things in a drug house. And if you walk up in some drug user's territory, and I'm just, like I said, I'm only going over this and saying this because died of overdose. That's right. You see why, it says it right here. Plain, white, and clear. Walk up in that drug user's domain, you're going to spark some stuff. I used to hang around some friends, right, that had drug problems. They were the coolest people in the world, but just had that problem. And I tried to help them, and I wish they'd listen. Never did. I wish I was there for a lot of my friends that committed suicide. I would have tried to help them to the end is right. But I had my own addiction, alcohol, lost touch. And I think one guy did clear himself of crack. Because, I had a talk with him, and I think he did clear up. Because I did see him somewhere, driving by, and I didn't have time to stop and talk to him, but I seen him. He was alive, and he looked good. But, you know, but just to say, you know, to have this and whatever goes on in a drug house, man, like I say, they're not good people to be around. And I mean, just to be where I was when I did drink and, you know, carting my buddies around because, you know, they were good friends. I mean, they had problems. I tried to help them. They did what they did and whatever. But they never, you know, would have died on my watch. But it never happened. That never did. No one ever overdosed around me. And, you know, I was like, hey, that's cool. But eventually, I woke up and had to get out of that scene. But like I said, I did see a friend, maybe a couple others pass by. One was a pure alcoholic like me. He got off the shit too. So I have met a lot of friends that did clean up. So, but other than that, that's this story. And it's just a bizarre. And shame on the police for not doing something about this. Until that next video, be safe, take care. I'm going to look into a little more. Out.